All right, everybody, welcome to the fourth episode of Beyond the Leaderboard. This is Trey Honeycutt. Thanks for jumping on. Just wanted to give myself some applause there. So today, really excited about this episode because this episode is really about leveraging the Family First Life system. So that's what we're going to title this. We're going to title this episode Leverage. And I want to get across a few points in this as we go through. And I'm going to take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and really dive into it so that people really understand how to leverage the system at Family First. Because the truth is, that's probably the one thing we don't sell enough of, is that we really do have a system that will work for everyone. We've really gotten this to the point where everybody can actually do this. Yes, everybody can go out and set 30 appointments a week. Everybody can get leads wherever they want. We have a lead system where you can get internet leads for $11 a piece, and different types of leads in different ways that they're created. And we're bringing on agents left and right, and brand new agents. You know, if you were to look at Coast to Coast Leaderboard 9 weeks into 2021, the top 3 agents, Colton Dewar, has not had his insurance license for a year, and he's issued $116,000 so far. Number 2 is Rob Baker. He has not had his insurance license, but for maybe 7 months, and he's issued $96,000 so far. So he's brand new. And then you got Zeke, and Zeke is brand new to our team as well. And I don't know, he's like $90,000 or something. So, and those might be the top 3, or maybe 3 out of the top 5 for sure. But what's crazy about it is we've witnessed this over time, that anybody can go out, set 30 appointments a week, spend the time on the phone, set the appointments, get the lead flow, go help the families. And if they put in the work, it works 100% of the time. So we're not confused about that. One of the things that I think people have always struggled with, because we've always had a really good system at Family First Life of what it means to go out and produce at a high level. And so when I started in the business, one of the things that I was trying to wrap my mind around was, what's the system to go out and build? What's the system that everyone can do to go out and build? And so the story that I always tell is, your whole goal in life is really just to take 2 people a day from not knowing about Family First Life to knowing about Family First Life. Somebody goes, Trey's back on that 2 a day thing, because I always share that because it really is that simple. I mean, how long does it take to have 2 3-minute conversations a day? Now, am I sitting down and explaining and verbal vomiting over every single person that I meet about everything great about Family First Life? No, I'm just trying to pique their interest, and I'm trying to get them to look at some information. We really do 2 things. We either get information in front of people, or people in front of the information. That's all it is. I want to be the 30-second commercial. I don't want to be the feature film. I can take 2 3-minute, 2 5-minute conversations a day, every single day, and take somebody from not knowing to knowing. I can make that a habit that fits into my life, and that doesn't have to interfere at all with personal production. And so the best promoter in this business really does win. It really is that simple, because you can't, if you're driving this thing through personality and charisma, and everybody's just following, they're joining your business because of you, and they're following just you, you can never grow it big enough where it can move away from you, because you always have to be the man. You always have to be the woman. You always have to be the one that's in the forefront of everybody's mind. And what I tried to do early on was I tried to leverage the tools that were in place so that I would find people that would do this in spite of me. My number one goal is to find people better at this than I am. And so the only way you can do that, if people are always looking at you, and you never get out of the way long enough so that they could see FFL, you don't have a chance to hire anybody that's better at this than you, because they're always going to base their opinion of this based on you. Now, that's always going to be an issue. I get it, because people do that, but you want to limit that as much as possible and just learn to promote and tell other people's stories as much as you can. So my goal in life, if everything went away and I had to start over tomorrow, my whole goal in life is I would sell. I'd go out and I'd sell every single week. I have my 30 appointments. I go see the people. I invest in leads. I'm on the road. I'm seeing people. I'm sitting down with families. I'm doing my best to help them. I'm filling my mind up with the training. I'm immersing myself in the content. You say, well, what training do you do? I would do just find a couple videos and watch those ones. I mean, it's a blessing and it's a curse because we have so much content, so much training, so much great material to teach you how to be presumptive and assumptive in the home, and your phone script and lead strategy and all these other things, that I think sometimes people lose the sight of the forest through the trees. They get so caught up on all the training that it becomes sort of an avoidance thing. Like, I got to do more training. All you got to do is have like a couple trainings and just watch those over and over and over and over again. There's nothing new under the sun. It's all the same stuff. The stuff that worked in 2016, for the most part, it works today. Like, Sean Mike's original video, Attitude and Activity, still works today. Top-down selling still works today. Just pick a few of the trainings. Paul McLean's 8 Steps to Final Expense in-Home. Like, just watch that. That should be 8 steps to life insurance sales. And understand it's not just what he says, but it's what he doesn't say. It's how he tees it up. It's how he lays it out. It's how he relates to the people. It's how that he overcomes the objections in advance. It's a beautiful orchestra of life insurance salesmanship. So that's a phenomenal training as well. So what you're doing, if I had to start all over, I'm running my 30 appointments. I'm immersing myself in the training. I'm not being too hard on myself on a day-to-day basis. I'm just focusing on the activity with faith that the numbers are going to work out. And in the meantime, I'm taking 2 people a day from not knowing about Family First Life to knowing about Family First Life. I'm having conversations with whoever I can, a couple people. I'm piquing their interest, and then I'm sending them to some sort of third-party exposure to Family First Life that will tell the story better than I can. The reality is, when it started, it was me on the video. I would send people to me on the video. You say, why did you do that? You're the one on the video. Because I don't want to do the conversation 37 times a day when I could just send people to watch the video and I have 3-minute conversations. Because that video is always going to be the same. I could be up, I could be down, I could have a good day, I could have a bad day, I could be temperamental, I could be hungry, I could be all kinds of different things. And it may or may not work, but that video is steady. So what I'm doing is I'm sending people to the Rogue IMO, the new one, the 2021 that Stephen Yee just finished up. If you don't know what that is, that's whatisffl.com. You can register for a link there. In the Coast to Coast group, we have fflhq.com. You can register for a link there. Many different places where you can go. The original, theroguimo.com/register. You can register for a link there. And basically, I'm using that system and promoting it so that when I'm talking to somebody and I get that conversation to a high point, what I'm trying to do is just pique the interest and then use the tool to get people to take a look. So once that conversation is at its peak, then I'm basically going to say, okay, Rob, here's what we're going to do. We put together this overview. It'll explain everything we do, how we do it, what we do, how we get paid. If you like what you see, I'll introduce you to the right people. Write this down. I send them to my web link, and I let that 16-minute overview that Stephen Yee does take the heavy lifting and explain everything about the company. Comp, leads, renewals, no fees for the training, bonus structure, best in the industry, all that stuff, right? And then at the end of that conversation is really simple. What I'm doing is I'm following up with those people, and I'm just taking their temperature. Based on what you saw, is it something you want to learn more about? What did you like best about it, Tom? On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being raring to go and 1 being not interested at all, where do you find yourself? If Tom says anything less than a 10, I'm going to say, hey, what else do you need to know to get you to a 10? And he'll ask me a question. I handle it. And then I say, all right, is there anything else you need to know before you get started? And that's pretty much all I'm doing. Now, am I getting more into detail when I'm hiring people on that second phone call? Yeah. Like, here's the thing. When people believe that you're being selective, they want to be the one you select. Like, Family First Life has never been about just hiring every single person that fogs up a mirror. If the person doesn't have a car, like, they can't do it. If the person owes money to the IRS, they got a tax lien, we can't get them contracted. There's nothing we can do. Listen, if they don't pay the IRS, they'll run away from their obligation to the insurance carrier as well. Like, there's certain things that you don't get past. Like, there's certain things that, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I'm only looking for the people that know the good, bad, and the ugly and still want to do it. That's always been my measuring stick. Like, do I still want to talk to them? The hardest thing in this business, it's really just spending your time with the wrong people. And the thing that I'm convinced of, this is what you got to understand when it comes to hiring, is that 60% of the people that you talk to are completely unmotivatable. And there is literally nothing you can do to motivate them. And what's a trip about it is some of those people are the ones that interview the best because they're really good at interviewing, but they'll never do anything. They're unmotivatable and they want to suck up 100% of your time. So the thing that you have to learn in the business is 6 out of 10 people, if they don't do it, it's not your fault. That's just the way it is. It's not your fault. They just were one of those ones that didn't do it. 27 out of 100 or 2.7 out of 10 are what I call motivatable. That means based on your influence and your ability to promote, you can change the outcome or their trajectory at any given moment. So those people are what I call motivatable. What's that mean? That means that Bob is sitting at home on a Saturday. He's watching reruns of Whose Line Is It Anyway? And he opens up his Facebook and he sees that Sally just wrote $10,000 off an $11 lead on a door knock. And then Bob's like, holy crap. Like, I need to get out in the field. So he starts making phone calls and sets some appointments for the next day. That's somebody based on promotion, based on what he sees, based on his immersion into Family First Life in the system, can go from hot to cold, cold to hot. He's motivatable, right? That's 27 out of 100 people, 2.7 out of 10, all right? 10% of the people are what we call self-motivated. So those 1 out of 10 people will do this thing with or without you. Like, you could hire them, never talk to them again. They'll figure it out. They'll call other people for help. They'll find the training online. They'll get contracted. They'll call the carriers, make sure everything's good. They'll call you. They won't leave you alone. You can't forget about them. Like, they're all over it. They're self-motivated. They're going to do this thing with or without you. That's 1 out of 10. People say, well, if I hire 10 and 1 only writes, well, that means you're getting the self-motivated one. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. You say, how do I get 10 writers? Hire 100. You just got to put the numbers in your favor. You say, well, Trey, I don't know how to hire 100. Well, if you have 10 people hiring 10, that's hiring 100. That's 10 new writers, no matter what. Like, you can mess it up. Tell them all not to write. It's still 10 of them will go right if you put 100 new contracted agents into the business. Now, 3 out of 100, 3 out of 100, 3% of the people are what we call motivators. Those are the board members. Those are the people that are not only going to do it with or without you, they're going to find other people to do it with or without you. We really do 3 things in Family First Life. We make appointments to help people with life insurance. We help people with life insurance, and we hire other people to make appointments and help people with life insurance. That's really all it is. And so 3 out of 100 times, you're going to find Andrew Taylor's, Grady Polson's, Nick Aiello's, Matt Smith's, Paul McLean's. You're going to find true motivators that are going to do it with or without you. And people say, well, how do I do that? Well, you haven't hired 100. like you got to put the numbers in your favor. You're still on the 6 that weren't going to do anything anyway. And when one of those quit, you beat yourself up over it. And so you say, well, Trey, how do I get to that? Well, my plan is all I want people to do is this. 2 people a day from not knowing to knowing. If I do that 5 days a week, that's 10 people a week. At the end of the year, that's 500 people a year from not knowing to knowing about Family First Life. Now, what are the odds? Try it. Prove me wrong. You say, well, Trey, that's too few. I want to do 100 a day. Then do 100. Don't let your minimums be your maximums. But by golly, don't let a day go by where you don't at least do 2. That's all I'm saying. If people say, he's so short, he's so short-sighted. Like he's selling me short. He only wants me to talk to 2 people. Look, talk to 100 if that's what you want to do, but don't talk to 100 a day and then not do anything for 7 months. Like, the key is consistent, persistent effort over time. So if at the end of the year, you just personally took 500 people from not knowing about Family First Life to knowing, what are the odds that you wouldn't find 50 of them that would raise their hand and say, you know what, that sounds good. It sounds like a good program. I'm going to try that Family First Life thing out. Out of 500, you think 10% of them aren't going to go get licensed? Of course they are. And out of those 50 that go get it done, let's say they're already licensed or they go through pre-licensing or whatever, they go get their license. You got them from an ad. They were a friend. I don't care where you get them from. They could be a friend of a friend. It doesn't really matter. They could respond to an ad about a high commission sales position and not be licensed. They could respond to an ad on Craigslist. It doesn't matter where they come from. What are the odds out of 500 that 50 don't raise their hand and say, hey, Family First Life, that sounds like a good deal. High comp, vested renewals, no fees for training, vested renewals day one, no contract. I mean, it sounds pretty good. Highest comp in the industry, bonus structure, system that you can plug people into that's working. Huge momentum across the country, 400 offices by the end of 2021. All those things that are going to make like a lot of sense to people. And 50 people out of 100 raise their hand and say, I want to do it. Out of those 50, what are the odds that at the end of the year, you don't have 5 people issuing $20,000 a month? You say, well, that takes too long. It's not fast enough. Look, it's never fast enough. Ever. You sit Dave Witcher down. Talk to him for 15 minutes. He's going to tell you, not fast enough. It's pretty freaking fast. Still not fast enough. When Mike Killamit, Mike Killamit had been in, he'd been crushing this thing for years. And everybody's like, my God, how is Mike killing it so much? You talk to Mike, he's not fast enough. Any integrity partner you can think of right now in Family First Life, they'll all tell you not fast enough. Everybody says it's not fast enough. So once you stop thinking about fast enough and just think about consistency, because if at the end of the year, you had 5 people issuing $20,000 a month, that's $100,000 a month. If you only got a 10% override off that, that's $10,000 a month passively at the end of the year. How much money, and I always use this, but listen to how I explain this. And honestly, it's a great recruiting tool, by the way, to explain it this way. But how much money would you need to have in the bank to make $10,000 a month passively? Well, $1.2 million at 10% interest. Nobody can get 10% interest. So it's $2.4 million after taxes at 5% interest. What do you think is easier? Saving $2.4 million after taxes in the next year, or finding 5 people that can issue $20,000 a month? You say, Trey, that's too slow. Maybe you get lucky and you find 5 people that can issue $20,000 a month in the first 30 days. Maybe instead of doing 10 a day, you can do 2 a day, you can do 10. I don't care. Just consistent over time is what I'm trying to say. And whatever you do, other people will follow. See, the reality is in this business is that people follow people who know who they are, know where they're going, and they know how they're going to get there. And if you don't deviate and you just do the persistent, consistent thing over time, and you're not blowing like a reed in the wind all the time with no direction, changing everything all the time. See, organizational leadership, the thing you got to understand is it's like a clock. It's like one of those old clocks, right? And at the top, you have these big gears, right? And whenever you change something on the big gear, maybe it's not a clock, maybe like an old machine. I don't know. Go with the analogy. So you got this machine with a bunch of gears on it, right? And so if you start tinkering with the big gear and you change the speed of that, or you change the direction or whatever, all it does is just break all the machinery at the bottom. And so these big, massive, sweeping changes all the time, nobody can follow that. You just got to be consistent, persistent, the same message. You say, Trey's been saying the same thing since 2016. I do that on purpose because I want people to follow it, because I know it works. See, at the end of the year, if we're doing $10,000 in income a month passively because you had a team doing $100,000 or $1 million a year agency, then the reality is that's like having $2.4 million in the bank earning 5% interest. Now, at the end of the second year, if those 5 people writing $20K just found 5 people themselves writing $20K, now you have an agency doing $600,000 a month. And if you just got a 10% override on that, that's $60,000 a month. That's more than the average person makes in a year in a month. And how did you do that? By finding 30 people that could write $20,000 a month. And how did you do that? By having 2 5-minute conversations a day, taking people from not knowing to knowing. It really is that simple. The time's going to pass anyway. You just got to make it part of your daily routine. Now, if I'm having 2 30-minute interviews every day, trying to talk people into Family First Life, and 6 out of 10 of the people that I talk to aren't going to do anything anyway, that becomes exhausting. All I'm trying to do is sort. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just trying to find the people that want to do it. And 13 out of 100 people are the self-motivated and the motivators. They're going to do it with or without me. And you say, well, how quickly can I introduce 100 people and get 100 licensed agents into my team? Here's the big trick that nobody thinks about. It's not just about how many writing agents you have. It's how many people on your team are actually hiring. And you say, hey, I want to get more people on my team hiring. Well, the way you do it is you teach them simple concepts like taking 2 people a day from not knowing to knowing. The reality is if I get 50 people doing that, that was the advantage that Andrew Taylor had early on. And before anybody realized it, that's how he exploded, because he just simply had more people hiring on the same page than anybody else. And how did he do it? He kept it really, really simple. That's all it was. He just made it so simple that anybody can do it. The reality is anybody can run 30 appointments. You say, Trey, my closing ratio is 97%. So I only got to run 10. Fine, closing guru. Good for you. 97 out of 100. Booyah. So you're special. But what you want to do is you want to talk to everybody else. And everybody else can run 30 appointments and still issue $10,000 in a week. So let's just do what everybody can do, and you be special, right? So Andrew was a master at that. He would tell people, hey, I close 25% of the time. I get 6 applications a week. I help 6 families. In some houses, I get 2 apps, out of 24 appointments. Was that true? Maybe on average over time, it actually was. Have I seen Andrew close 40 appointments in a row? Yeah, I have. I have seen Andrew close 40 appointments in a row. Was he beating everybody over the head about how great of a closer he was? No, he never did that, because you're trying to make it simple where everybody could believe that they could do the same thing. Because the reality is everybody can do this. And so what you want to do with hiring is just make it something everybody can do. You say, Trey, why do you send people a video? Because everybody could do that. Even when it was me on the video explaining the Family First Life opportunity, I'd send them the video with me on it. I wouldn't take the time and just sit down and explain the opportunity over and over and over and over again, because first of all, I got to focus on personal production, because the best thing I can do is actually the biggest override you make in this business is on yourself. So all I have to do is prove the model consistently, and I can control that. I can't control how many people start writing right away. I can't control who buys the most leads right away. I can't control who's going to do it first. There's a lot of things I can't control. I can be consistent in adding people to the process, and consistently over time, there is absolutely no way that I don't win at it. Because if I make it simple and I do it over and over and over, then other people will follow what I'm doing. And now, instead of just me talking to 2 people every day, taking them from not knowing to knowing, if 10 people are doing that with me, now instead of 10 people a week, it's 100 people a week. Now, instead of 50 people at the end of the year saying, hey, I want to do it, we have 500 people at the end of the year. Now, instead of 500 people, and now instead of 5 people writing 20 grand a month, now we have 50 people writing 20 grand a month. How did we do that? Because we have 10 people doing it every single day. What if you had 100? So it's just multiplication of the simple activities over time. You say, well, how do I influence people to do that? By promoting, using the tools, getting good at telling other people's stories, getting good at promoting the system in place, and getting good at recognition, shining the spotlight on other people. So we're going to talk about that. So I've always said this, even if I was the #1 salesperson in Family First Life, which I am not, definitely not. But even if I was, my #1 goal would be to not talk about how good I was at Family First Life. I would just tell other people's stories. I had a person approach me on Facebook today. He, somebody I knew from high school. And he said, Trey, I see you're with Family First. How's that working? I go, it's working pretty good. And he's trying to get me to talk about how great it's going for me. And so what I said was, last month we had 61 people on the team issue $10,000 for the month. So 61 people on the team made over $10,000 last month. I didn't tell him how great I was doing. I didn't tell him how much my income was. I didn't brag about it. I just said, hey, it was pretty cool. 61 people last month in our agency made over $10,000. And then I shared a story. I said, there's this one agent, she issued $47,000 by herself. She'd struggled in the insurance profession for a long time. She's finally cracked the code, and her life's never been the same ever since she joined Family First Life. She thinks it's the best decision she ever made, because this was a person that was licensed and had struggled in the business. So what I started doing was just telling him a story about somebody he could relate to. And so that's why it's important to plug into all the training, so you can share the stories with people. And then the other thing you got to get good at is simplifying everything, because all this really comes down to is leads, dials, in-home. That's all it comes down to. And it's one of those three things. And the in-home is usually not it, by the way. There's only two things that happen. You're either not doing enough or you're doing something wrong. 9.5 times out of 10, you're just simply not doing enough. People say, I called these leads. I only set 3 appointments. You didn't call them enough. You called them 3 times and you left a voicemail. No, call them 27 times and then text them after that. Like, you got to consistently, persistently call them. You got to hit the dial goal. You got to dial Mondays and Thursdays. Like, that's your job. One of the best things I ever heard, I was with Zach Trudowski one time in Denver, and he had an agent call him, and she was new, and it was like 4 p.m. And he's like, hey, how many appointments do you have? She's like, oh, I've been dialing all day. He's like, how many appointments do you have? It's like, have 3. He's like, you've been dialing all day and you have 3? She's like, yeah. He goes, well, how many people you talk to? It's like, I talked to 7. It's like, you've been dialing all day, talked to 7 people, you only have 3 appointments? How many dials you made? She's like, I made 300 dials like you told me to. It's like, wait a second. Something's not adding up. He even asked me, he's like, Trey, is that adding up? I'm like, dude, that don't sound like that's adding up. He's like, how many leads do you have? She goes, 13. So she had 13 leads. She dialed those puppies 300 times. She only talked to 7, set 3. So that's a good problem. I wish every agent would be like that, because the reality is we just get you some more leads. That's where the problem was. She didn't have enough to call. She had 100 leads to call. That agent's setting 20 appointments by noon because they're dialing them enough. Does that make sense? How many of you guys would dial 15, 20 times per lead a day? Like, that's what it takes. It really is just as simple as that. I don't know how else to explain it. It either comes down to leads, dials, in-home. You're not making enough dials. If you're not making enough dials, it's either because you're afraid to dial or you get distracted or whatever. And if you are making enough dials and it's not working, you don't have enough leads. And if you're doing all those things and it's not working, then maybe we need to work on your in-home. But 9.5 times out of 10, it's not the in-home. The skill set in this business is getting the appointments, activity, activity, activity. You say, well, this week I had 30 appointments and only 5 of them showed up. All right, well, there's probably a problem there with you tying down the appointments. Or maybe you're not setting them that well at all. Or maybe people are just setting them with you to get off the phone. Maybe they think you're a telemarketer. There's some things there that could be happening. So maybe you need to start grading your appointments. And a lot of times what happens is, I'll tell you what happens, is people set appointments that aren't real appointments. Like, they're saying stuff to you where you know they're not going to be there and you're not tying it down at all. Like, somebody says, call me before you come. I might be there. Okay, Bob, you might be there. You're definitely going to be there, because they got me seeing 15 people tomorrow. And if I go out and 5 of you guys don't show up, they're going to fire me. So are you going to be there or not? Like, it's that simple. Like, I'm not so desperate to get an appointment that I'm just going to waste my time to go see somebody that's just going to no-show me anyway, right? And tying down the appointments properly. Grab a pen, write this down. This is my information. This is the confirmation number. If somebody shows up without this confirmation number, don't let them in. Can I see the address of your house from the street? Am I going to be able to find it on my GPS? I'm the good-looking guy that looks like John Travolta. Like, there's all kinds of stuff you could say, to tie that down in their brain, having them write it down, not setting it more than 2 days out. You start setting 3 days out, that's a little tough. And then grading the appointment so that, if it's not the most solid appointment, or it's a quick set and you don't think they're going to be there, possibly, like it's a real quick set, you put a 1 by that one. And if it's a super solid appointment, we're like, oh my God, we're so excited to see you. We will both be there. We like, that's a 5. And your goal is to fill up your schedule with 5s. And you're running final expense appointments. You know, I learned this when we first transitioned from just direct mail leads to Facebook. One of the things I started doing was counting my Facebook appointments as half an appointment. So what I would do is I would set them every hour on the hour with a 30-minute window. So I would basically tell Tom, I'd be like, Tom, I'm going to be there between, 9 and 9:30. And then the next one I tell him, hey, I'm going to be there between 10 and 10:30. Or I'd set them every hour on the hour with an hour window. So I'd be like, Tom, I'm going to be there between 9 and 10. And then the next one I say, I'll be there between 10 and 11. And what I'm doing is just building forgiveness into my schedule so that if somebody doesn't show up, I'd rather no-show them than them no-show me. I'd rather call them because I have too many appointments, I can't make it, than show up and then have them not be there and me have to go take a nap in the Home Depot parking lot because I'm depressed, because I don't want to get back on the phone and set some more appointments. Like, I'm trying to make it where there's no white space in the calendar so that when I'm out, I'm actually sitting with people with a good attitude. And then when you get Sally no-shows you, if you're booking them every hour on the hour and Sally no-shows you, then thank God Sally wasn't here. Now I can be to the next one on time. And so I learned that from Andrew Taylor, just building that forgiveness into your schedule. People say I get no-shows. Everybody gets no-shows. People say I get extended draft dates. That's why I didn't write 20 this month. Everybody that wrote 20,000 last month had extended draft dates too, just like you, by the way. They just did enough activity so that, even with their extended draft dates, they had $20,000 a month. So we've done a phenomenal job at Family First Life of helping people understand what it means to be successful as a producer. But what I want you to get down is the simple, basic disciplines of taking people from not knowing to knowing, spending your time with new agents. Listen, you need to get as uncomfortable not having 5, 10 new agents that you're talking to on a daily basis that are going through the beginning phases of this business, getting out in the field, getting no-showed, getting told no, trying to figure out why they got declined for this product, people that are dialing, asking you questions about dialing, all the stuff that new agents do. You got to get as uncomfortable not having 5 or 10 of those to talk to on a regular basis, like every day, as you are not having 20 appointments, 9 o'clock Monday night for the next 2 days. If you can do that, you truly have cracked the code. And then what happens is you just stay consistent in that activity. And then when you have that group of people, what you're doing is you're using third-party tools to train them. So your goal is to make it work without you. So if I have to talk to somebody about their phone script, then what I do is I record the conversation and I send them the recording. So any kind of coaching I do like that, like I'm sending them the recording to listen to it over and over. If they're getting a certain objection in the home and I go through it with them, I record it and I let them listen to it over and over. If there's a video that's already out there, I'll promote and point to that video. I'm tagging people on Facebook. I'm sending them text messages. I'm calling them. I have those 5, 10 people I talk to on a regular basis that are new, and I'm calling them and I'm telling them about the Next Level Live, and I'm telling them about the podcast that's going to air on Family First Life USA on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. And I'm telling them about Beyond the Leaderboard, and I'm telling them about these different trainings that are in place, and I'm telling them about the Saturday call that we have with Sean, and I'm telling them about these different tools and things. I'm promoting to them personally all the time because they'll do what I do. That's what it is. It's just monkey see, monkey do. They'll do what I do, not what I say. So if I can just show them what it looks like to do it successfully, consistently over time without making myself an issue, then it'll move away from me. And that's all I'm looking to do. But if it's always about me, if it's always about my training, if it's always about get on Zoom with me and let me help you do this with me. My Zoom room is open all day long. I'm an open book. I have office hours. Just come in and we'll role play your in-home and we'll role play your phone script. If I make it like that, it'll never move away from me. All I'm going to do is create a bunch of codependency. But once I get really good at promoting, and once I get really good at running business, and once I get really good at taking 2 people a day from not knowing to knowing, and finding those ones that want to do it with or without me, then I'm connecting with those people. I'm staying in front of them, and I'm immersing them into family first life. I'm bathing them. What does Grace say? He covers them with family first life. Like they can't go anywhere without having this family first life there to see it anywhere on social media. Like it's in their face all the time. And it's either going to push them up or it's going to push them out. And that's really what you want to have happen. It really is that simple. Listen, this isn't for everybody. Now, everybody with an insurance license, yes, I do think it is. And every top producer anywhere else, it's absolutely family first life's the right place for them. They just may not know it yet. But certain people, they just don't want to do it. And so if I'm spinning my wheels trying to twist people's arms and talk them into it, the ones that don't want to run, it's exhausting. And that's what I see a lot of people do because they don't leverage what's in place to make your job easy so that you can focus on running business and focusing on hiring new people that want to do it. Another tool that you need to learn to leverage is staff. Like the question you should be asking yourself is, what am I doing on a day-to-day basis that I can have somebody else do that's impeding me from spending more time with new agents, having those uncomfortable conversations I don't like having, the same mundane, stupid conversations that you have to have with brand new people that you don't like because you're like, God, but you don't remember you were brand new and you had the same annoying questions too. Like this is one thing I never got away from. Like I've never forgotten what it's like to be brand new. I've never forgotten what it's like to be brand new, struggling and feeling like I don't want to bother Paul and Andrew. And those are the agents you want. The ones you want to be reaching out to are the ones that feel like they're bothering you and they're trying. That's where you can make the most impact and most influence. That's where you can change the trajectory of where they're going. If Bob's sitting down with 10 families, he's closing one, but he doesn't want to talk to you about it because he's afraid to bug you, Bob needs to be one of those 10 people that you're talking to on a regular basis. Not only are you taking the calls, but you're making the calls. You want to chase the leading edge of the fire, and that's what the fire is. The new blood in this business really is, the new blood is the lifeblood in this business. And as long as you can remember that and just get as uncomfortable not having 10 people to talk to on a regular basis as you are not having enough appointments, then what happens is people start to emulate what you're doing. You don't even have to train on it. They just see you do it long enough. I saw Andrew Taylor do that long enough where his phone was glued to his face from the time he woke up to the time he went to bed, having difficult conversations with new agents all day. And I saw him do it long enough that I copied it. And then people on the team saw me do it long enough that they copied it, like Stephen E. and Brandon Kitchings and Elaine, so many others. I'd start naming names. But there's so many others that have copied that same persistent, consistent activity over time. And all that does is add multipliers to the business. And the more people you have doing that, the faster it's going to grow. You say, how do you get people to do that? You never deviate from that part. 10,000 minutes a month on your cell phone. That's the secret. How do you go board member? 10,000 minutes a month on your cell phone. What's that mean? So 60 minutes is an hour. So 600 minutes is 10 hours. So 6,000 minutes is 100 hours a month plus another. So 200 hours a month would be like 50 hours a week on your cell phone, right? That'd be 12,000 minutes. So 10,000 minutes a month would be like 40 hours a week, every week on your cell phone. Just a full-time job talking to people, whether you're dialing clients or you're talking to agents or you're talking to new agents or you're solving problems. You just got that phone glued to your face all the time. And people say, God, that's uncomfortable. It's chaotic. I don't enjoy that. Well, I understand that. Nobody enjoys that. But the trick to this business is you got to get it to the point of absolute chaos and just stay there for 90 days. And if you can do that, I promise you, you unlock the code of what it looks like. But everybody wants to bring it back under control and squelch it and push it down. You don't want to do that. You want to let it run away. Just move fast, break things. It's my favorite sign in the corporate office. So I hope this makes sense. So leverage is the title of the podcast today. You guys, thanks for jumping on Beyond the Leaderboard, episode 4. Next week, I'm going to do my best to get a guest on this puppy. And so that guest is going to be right here in the studio where we do these ones. But the week after that, I'm going to try to hook all this stuff up and get somebody on Zoom, make it all work. So thanks for jumping on Beyond the Leaderboard, episode 4, leverage. You guys have a great week.